Hey everybody, back again. I didn't really go anywhere. I just did a video on the top 10, which ended up being 11 things I didn't like, disliked, hated, was annoyed with, made no sense with Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. And I wanted to keep it positive, so I wanted to end on a high note and talk about 10 things that I did like about the movie. They weren't, well, they're little, but there are some parts that kind of stuck to me and I thought was interesting. And so I wanted to bring balance to the Force. And if I went to the dark side, no, if I was going to go dark, I'm going to end with it being light. So 10 good things that I liked about the movie. And starting off, number one, evil Rey, right? So Rey is, of course, Palpatine's granddaughter now, which is kind of boring. But there's hints in the movie where Rey's kind of evil side comes to bear, to be seen, and that's interesting. That's cool. When they got the Force tug of war on the transport ship, and she accidentally loses control and Force lightning. Whoa! Didn't see that coming. That's interesting. That's cool, right? And she's kind of horrified and taken aback by her power. I like that. For the first time in a long time, right? Rey is interesting again. And then when she's in the cave and quickly battles her evil self, and kind of see what Rey could be again, interesting, right? You're taking her really to that dark path that Luke never went to. Of course Anakin does, but not kind of this way. He's a slow burn maybe. And here she's all these outbursts of anger when her and Kylo Ren fight in the Death Star, and she kills him. It's whoa, Rick, calm down, right? Hey, didn't see that coming. That was okay. All right, that's new. Didn't see that. I like that, right? So that was when she was her most interesting, when she was kind of flirting with her bad side, and I wish they would have done more with that, and really kind of made that more of an inner battle in this movie, right? Really, how much more interesting would it be if the majority of the movie is Rey fighting herself, right? This inner, she's in turmoil. She could, maybe end all this fighting if she just embraced her power. That would be interesting, and really build character. But instead, she flirts with it. I like it. I just wish they would have done more with it. Second thing that I really liked about the movie, surprisingly, especially after Last Jedi, is Leia, and how they actually used her pretty well in this movie. Of course, Carrie Fisher passed away right before I think Last Jedi was released. And interestingly enough, I guess they had enough footage of her from Force Awakens that they could kind of splice it together and do some camera magic to kind of fit her into the story and have it make sense. And so I was well, she must just be a bit player in this one. But Leia kind of has a bigger role than I think anyone really thought. And even though, I don't know if it's all unused footage or some CG, a couple parts were CG, but she ends up kind of training Rey, and it's what? But it kind of makes a bit, more sense later on. And she kind of ends up redeeming Kylo Ren in a way. But just the way they were able to kind of seamlessly put her into the movie. It's not perfect. A couple times the conversation is a little jarring. But for the most part, very well done. I was surprised by that. And sad Miss Fisher is no longer here. But I'm sure she would be proud and honored and happy to see Leia portrayed as well as she is in this movie. So props to that. That was really awesome. Which goes into number 3 favorite part. And I said in my earlier review rant, this is probably my favorite part of the film. It's 10 seconds, which is sad. But there's a scene real quick where Luke flashes back, and we see that Leia was actually being trained to be a Jedi. And she had some Jedi skills. She's got her own lightsaber. And her and Luke were kind of dueling with those little blast shield helmets down, and for a second, Luke kind of, she bests Luke, and he raises his visor, and we see a de-aged Luke, which looks good, and then Leia raises her shield, and we see a de-aged Leia holding a lightsaber. Like, it looks like it happened right after Return of the Jedi, and it's like, ooh, this is the movie we all wanted to see, right? And I know now the actors have aged, and that's not possible, but just for a brief second, what could have been, maybe what should have been, Luke and Leia fighting it out, lightsaber, his brother, that's... to see that and like how cool that would be, that's good. But again, to kind of be denied that on screen is a waste. And I would love to see somehow they explore that time period a little bit more, somehow, some way, because that was super cool to see. And like I said, my favorite part, which I was surprised by, were two de-aged actors lightsaber fighting with no stakes, but it was cool to see. Next thing, this would be number 4, right? The movie takes a couple digs at The Last Jedi, which was hilarious, I thought, because I did a whole video on why The Last Jedi sucks, and I think it's pretty safe to say, this movie, Rise of Skywalker, is totally held down by what came before it, and how it just... I'm reverting back to my Last Jedi hate. But anyway, it's a waste of film. Harsh, but I really mean it. And J.J. Abrams takes a couple digs at this. There's when all the Star Destroyers are announced and the Resistance is like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Someone suggests kind of offhand, why don't we just do the Holdo maneuver, right? We'll just light speed ram into these ships, and someone's like, you idiot, that's a 1 in a million thing, that's impossible, that's so stupid, it kind of shuts the guy down right away, right? Which explains why they're not light speed jumping into Death Stars and anything else. I guess it's very difficult to do. Maybe Holdo only did it because she was point blank. I don't know why, but that was kind of funny. I laughed out loud when that happened. Because it's absurd that they would do that, right? So good to the movie for pointing out the absurdness of that. Later on, Luke admits to Rey like hiding out and being a hermit. He was wrong. It was a mistake. I never should have done it. Which is his whole character arc, basically in The Last Jedi. He's admitting it was wrong, and it was for being a wise guy, Luke still makes a lot of dumb mistakes. But anyway, that was a little kind of wink to the audience, like, didn't really mean to do that. And so that was good to see too. And basically the whole movie, Snoke is a clone, and it's just the whole movie is just a middle finger to Last Jedi, as it should be. But unfortunately, Last Jedi got in its licks, and this movie is worse for it. But I did like the digs because, Last Jedi deserves that and more. 5 would be the Death Star, the lightsaber fight between Rey and Kylo on the remains of the Death Star, with the waves crashing over them, and really that was really well done. There's like no dialogue between the two of them, no music, which was weird. I remember watching it in the theater, and I was like, you just hear the waves crashing and the lightsabers, and it was, if there ever was going to be, some John Williams in the background, it probably would have been then. But by not having that, it kind of worked, right? It just kind of made it feel a little more epic and maybe more final, or I don't know what. But just the choreography was good, visuals were good, water crashing over them. I guess maybe, Revenge of the Sith and Mustafar, the lava, and here the water. Maybe it's kind of like a parallel to that. I don't know if it was on purpose, but I wish it was a little bit longer. And I like that Rey ends up winning that one, kind of by cheating or embracing her darkness and stuff. Anyway, well done, satisfying ending, and that was really good. Which also leads in then to I think I'm on number 6. Kylo Ren being redeemed at the end of that lightsaber fight. Rey kind of heals him and steals his TIE fighter and takes off. How does Kylo Ren hijacks an old TIE fighter? Is that how he ends up on that planet? It looked like an old one, not a First Order one to me. Where does he find an old TIE fighter? I don't know. Whatever. But anyway, so like, I guess Rey's like a wake up call to him, and she like kills him, but then spares him. And I would have taken Ben's hand, but not Kylo Ren's, and he kind of comes to his senses. And having that cameo by Han Solo kind of come out of nowhere was really cool to see. And Kylo Ren was pretty irredeemable. I mean, I guess Vader killed tons of Jedi and younglings, and he comes back, so it's possible. But it's like, how are you going to do it? That's kind of like an unforgivable thing. But having Han Solo forgive him is probably as good as you're going to get when it comes to kind of bringing his character back to the light side. And that was a touching moment. And then Han, being Han, gets in his little "I know" line at the end. Kylo's going to say, "I love you, Dad," but Han cuts him off. And "I know," but that was a little bit of fan service, but it's in character, and it was just nice to see. And a good moment. And again, convinced me that he had come back, right? You kind of saw he was going to turn somehow, but the whole time, like, how are they going to do this and have it be meaningful and realistic? So again, having him kind of make amends with Han Solo, and Han Solo forgiving his son, a little touching, pretty well done, and probably the best way possible to bring his character back. And I did like that, so that was very well done. Speaking of cameos, Lando was in the movie. Not a lot, but again, he was well done, and it was good. He should have been back before, but finally they bring Lando back. He's a general. He's kind of been working in the shadows this whole time with the Resistance, and still kind of flirting with Leia a little bit, and kind of happy-go-lucky, laughing kind of guy. It's the Lando we all know and love. He's not in it a lot, but it's just good to see Billy D. Williams. And, again, would have been better to see him with the original cast and all those guys together, but we're not getting that. So he's not even with Leia on. Well, I guess he can't be with Leia on screen, but it was good to see Lando and Chewie and stuff together. So it was good to see, and wish he would have been in a little bit more. But he's very old, Billy D. Williams. But hey, still good to see. Third, I guess, cameo would be Siri, go away. Luke's X-wing. Hey, that was cool to see, right? It was kind of in the water in Last Jedi, and I guess he abandoned it there. And to see Luke kind of raise it out of the water and bring it back to Rey was a nice callback to Empire Strikes Back. And to see Luke get in there with, Rey get in there with Luke's old helmet and an old school X-wing just flying again is cool to see, and with the other Resistance ships, and glad to see it. Last Jedi, you kind of expected it to play into the movie a little bit, but like so much, nothing comes of it. So it was good to see that at least come out of probably the best thing to come out of Last Jedi is Luke's X-wing is resurrected from the ocean and used here. So I like that. Yes, we're at the bottom of the barrel here, but hey, I got to try and come up with 10, right? Number 9, kind of mentioned before, but largely it pretty much ignores The Last Jedi. Gets in a couple digs, but as I have said since Last Jedi came out, to anyone who will listen to me, the movie adds nothing to the overall story. And I said from day one, my prediction was you could pretty much just watch Force Awakens and Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. If you just watch those two back to back, it would be pretty much seamless. The story would still make sense, and you wouldn't really be missing much. And truth be told, Last Jedi, for as much as the movie does to try and erase it, it does it by really not even referencing much of what happened in the movie, because nothing really happened in that movie. Luke died, Kylo's promoted to Supreme Leader. That's really the only long-lasting circumstances to come from there, which is sad, but for the most part, it just brushes it aside, which is good, but also hurts the movie because it's got to wrap things up. This really is not a trilogy. It's a duology. It's just a movie and a scene. Anyway, it's good that it does it. It hurts the movie overall, but again, to tie yourself to Last Jedi and what came before would have been a huge mistake. So good for Abrams and Rise of Skywalker to pretty much know that. And the last one, number 10, the thing I like the best is it's over. It's over. As contentious as these new movies have been, in the highs and the lows, and Skywalker's kind of in the middle ground. As much as it pains me, right? Because I really love Force Awakens, and I really want to see what would happen to Rey, and what's the first. This is such a good job of raising so many interesting questions in that first one. Never really going to get satisfactory answers to those, right? What happens to Rey? It's over. I'm glad it's done. Don't got to worry about it anymore. And, we can move on to better things like Mandalorian and stuff like that now. But it was time, right? It's a Star Wars movie, man. This should be exciting and get people talking. And, it's a big event. And it kind of limped across the finish line. And I'd hate to see the direction they were going in get dragged out any longer. I'm glad they didn't make this into 2 movies. There was talk for a while we might get a part 1 and part 2 for episode 9. May have helped the story, give it room to breathe, but that would have been a mistake to go like Lord of the Rings route and stuff like that. So I'm glad they did not, and it is over. Where Rey goes from here, I don't know. I don't know if I care. If it's Force Awakens Rey, I'd like to see that, but the Rey we have now, being a Palpatine or Skywalker or whatever, it's just not that interesting. But again, it's over, and so thank goodness for that, right? So anyway, here's some bigger and better things going forward. So that's it. 10 things I liked about Rise of Skywalker, and I guess that's all. So yeah. I guess that's it. Thanks for watching, and if any more Star Wars stuff comes around, I'll be sure to rant about that. But appreciate it. Thanks for the view, and I got things to do. I know you do too. Catch you later.